Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Good morning. I'm over here vibing to the song. Good morning, coffee breakers, and all my first-time guests. Welcome in. This is Senabella, your host for this here lovely Friday morning coffee event, and I have my cup. Imagine what you will, but what will you make of it? We're going to explore all the possibilities of who you are, your life today, through one person's vision. And that vision is to decide on who you want to be, how you're going to perform that act in being that person, and how will it affect everyone around you as you endeavor to just kind of like be your own self, create your own image, and establish your legacy. Legacies are important. People are talking about them every day. Every day you hear someone say legacy this, legacy that, legacy this. And you know what? Every day we're on the track to creating what will become our legacies. Now, what does that mean to you? And what will it mean to the people that you leave behind with those things? And what will they think of you and talk about and say of you? So there's a lot to decide, a lot to do. We're going to have Attorney Tiffany Brooks come into the room with us today. And as all of you come in, I appreciate you and love you. It's good to see you. I'm just going to show a few people. Hey, Abantu, it's so good to see you. This is my sister, my good friend. Wonderful. It's good to see you here. Make sure you ask the question that you want answered. We get a chance to talk to someone who is actually running to become a judge. And I'm going to share more about who she is before I bring her on screen. And you all get a chance to decide for yourself. Am I going to call a friend and say, hey, look, there's someone running in your area that's going to become a judge, and she can help to affect change in your community overall in our world. Good morning, Henri. It's good to see you all the way from LA. Hey, happy Friday to you, girl. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. And JJ, it's so good to see you. How those films going with all those wonderful skyscrapers and everything that you're showing. When I say skyscrapers, I mean skyscapes. How you doing this morning, Jay? I know you're interested in affecting change because you're here to listen and learn. I want you all to get ready to ask some questions before I bring Tiffany in, okay? I'm excited to have her because I had a chance to meet her through a friend, and her name is Adrian. And she does a Taco Tuesday, and she says, Senabella, I'm having Taco Tuesday, come over. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming. And so I got my little tired self up, and I went over to her house, and I was very happy to have been there and to have met such wonderful people. I'm always enlightened with meeting new people and discovering what's going on in the world through their eyes. And I had an opportunity to meet Attorney Tiffany Brooks. And I have to say, when I walked in the room, I don't know. When I think about attorneys, sometimes I think about these stern people. Everybody I know is an attorney. They have sort of this sort of posture that when you see them, they're looking at everything. And she wasn't obvious. And so I really didn't see her at first. And so I went in and started getting my taco and stuff together. And eventually she was illuminated. There she was, Tiffany Brooks. And everyone was in the room and excited and rushing around talking about things. And we finally got a chance to talk, and I met her. And I said to myself, wow, okay, let me figure out who she is and what she's about, And she was unassuming, but she wasn't unassuming in a way that was stern and unfriendly. And let me say this, it's real important for us to kind of know the people we're in the room with and what we want as we're in that room. We're creating our own life legacies as we're present with other people. So the first time we meet them, it becomes important. So I'm going to bring to the screen Attorney Tiffany Brooks. And just before she comes in, if you hear me, Tiffany, I need you to pull your screen down a little before I pull you in so we get a little bit less chin. And yeah, there you go. And put a little more light in that. Can we have a little more light in your room? Hey, guys, you know what I'm doing, right? Yeah, I'm trying. There we go. There we go. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Tiffany Brooks, Attorney Tiffany Brooks. I'm going to bring her to the stage.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
I'm good. Let's pull the screen, shift it down so I can see more, less the top of your head. That way we can see more of your body.
More of me? Is that more?
Yeah, and get on in the middle. You all hear me over here trying to act like a producer, right? Yeah, we want to make sure you're looking good, Tiffany. Okay, you just left.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all right. Isn't she beautiful? How you doing, Tiff?
I'm doing well, and I apologize to everyone. I should have been here for the it's not the mic check, but
it's the mic and video check.
Mic and video check, okay.
So this is something you do a lot. So sometimes we assume that we have it, we know what we're doing, and we just come in, but every platform is different. So you haven't done anything wrong. She's here on time. She's here, right, folks? Right? She's here. And we've got Higher Learning TV show in the room. And she says, so grateful to be in the room with you and Attorney Tiffany. Hey, Zelda, thank you. Thank you for coming in. And we got JJ saying, good morning, Miss Brooks.
Good morning.
Yeah. And wait a minute. Sherry Lynn is here and she says, greetings and good morning. And she said, yes, she's beautiful. She said, beautiful. You're not just smart, you're beautiful. And so we're going to keep moving because, it doesn't
Thank you.
Most of the time, we don't even have enough time to talk about everything because we get so, somebody says here, I needed an attorney on my show last night. I think this here is our girl. I'm about to say her name. I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to call her Tiffany. But you know who I'm talking about. We're going to come back to you. And she's a sweetheart. This sister, look, empowering people doing 501c3s and everything. So she's right in your lane. Tiffany, there's so much to say about you. And before I let you talk, begin to talk, I want to go pull up some notes I have on you and kind of share what I learned about you at that moment. And you can respond. It says Attorney Tiffany Brooks is a dedicated public servant with professional background in government, law, education, banking, financing, real estate, social services for over 20 years. You don't even look like you had that much time to do 20 years in what you're doing. You said they talk about your degrees and where you went to school, from Loyola to John Marshall Law School, Northeastern Illinois. You were a teacher there. You taught. You were a teacher.
Yes.
Yeah, professor.
I was an adjunct professor.
Oh my God! Right. And you said that you currently hold the position of the first deputy commissioner for the City of Chicago Department of Business. Y'all hear that?
Yes.
This is in the house with her high heels on. Come on now. And she handles business affairs and consumer protection. And she was formerly the general counsel and then the chief of staff of the clerk of the city court of Cook County. Wow. Yeah. The second largest unified court. Let me just get right to it. with all that, 20 years, first of all, congratulations. And you have a lot of stories.
I do.
You have a lot of stories, no doubt. So I don't know where I want my first question to be, but I think I want to start with, first of all, thank you for coming in. And you're running for, why don't you talk about what you're running for and why you decided to run?
Well, I am running for circuit court judge, and I'm running for circuit court judge in Cook County, Illinois. Everyone knows of the famous reputation of Cook County in Chicago, Illinois. And so, yes, I'm running for judge. And honestly, being a judge is not what people perceive it to be. It's just not. There's no glamour to it. It's not like, Judge Mathis or Judge Judy or anything like that. It's hard work. It's often thankless work. And every single day you have to be very intentional and very careful, because the decisions that you make are holding in your hands the lives of someone else, people that you've never met before. Mm-hmm. And I don't take that lightly. Mm-hmm. And what I learned in litigating for 15 years is that when you walk into a courtroom, you never know who you're going to meet, where they came from, or what it took for them to get there that day and be sitting there in front of that judge. And you can't make snap decisions or snap judgments, but judges are human beings. And so sometimes they bring in with them, I would say all the time, but they bring in with them what they've gone through or what they've experienced, their life. Mm. So what if they had a bad day that morning? Or what if they had a bad week? Or what if they experienced some things that was going on in their life, tragedy or otherwise? How do they still remain impartial and unbiased? And an implicit bias, it lies in all of us. But you do have to have a higher level of discernment and discretion when you become a judge. And I've experienced some things going into the courtroom that I don't want others to experience. Mm. I have been, questioned about, you're not, hey, only lawyers can enter this far. And I'm in a suit with a bag in hand, and I was like, oh, okay, excuse me. And then, I'm sorry, counsel, I'm sorry. And it kind of took me aback the first time it happened. But I'm ashamed to say that it's happened multiple times. And I'm not saying anything about myself, but these suits weren't cheap. and I was dressed, but because of who I am and how I look, I was instantly questioned whether and where's my counterparts who were not Black were not. I also know that when you walk to the stand, you get prejudged, whether you're the litigant or the counsel, you get prejudged. And that's something that I don't want people to go through, because if I see a litigant approach the bench and they may be just dressed in everyday clothes or regular clothes, you don't know. Either they didn't know because they were never taught, or maybe they just didn't have
So you're talking about
proper attire to appear before.
So you're talking about etiquette.
Etiquette.
Yeah. So from the moment that you show
all
up,
around
that you are representing the seat that you represent in terms of being an attorney, everything is about that socialization and etiquette as you go into a place that is now going to determine an outcome for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to represent our demographic. Mm-hmm. I've been taught time after time, little Black kids can't be what they can't see. They just can't. So they need to see someone like them sitting on that bench. Someone who's going to be able to relate to their issues and their struggles.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
I know you've done a lot of community work too. So you're helping to
I
educate
have.
people on different ways. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what aren't you doing, because according to your resume, you shouldn't even be up right now. You're putting in a lot of work, a lot of
I
things.
probably should not.
You're a civil servant in much more beefier ways than we're aware of. How do you handle all of that? I mean,
Mhm.
a lot of the people that you represent, are you meeting them in all of these different venues that you're in and the places that you're going? I mean, how do you prep your clients and get ready to do what you're doing? What is that all about?
So it varies. It just depends on the situation. People are oftentimes referred to me. Word of mouth referrals come more often than you think. So if I've done a really great job for someone, they refer me. Same thing with the jobs and the titles that I've held. If I do a really great job, as large as Chicago is, Cook County is exactly, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. But as large as Cook County is, word will get around if you are a person of integrity and you are a person who can get the job done. And so these titles that I've held, I've been offered or asked to take these and hold these positions because I'd like to think that I've done a great job. I'm not from any sort of political family or anything like that. Like I don't hold that type of name. It's just that I go in, and when I'm going in, I am the type of person that I will be committed, and I will be very intentional about the commitment I that I extend, and the people. I've always been a person that wanted to help the community and the people. I stand on that, and I will continue to stand on that.
Well, how long did it take you to entertain this idea of running for office as a judge? And the community that you're going to serve, are you living in that community? And what are some of the needs that you saw that said, let me make this transition now? Because I've heard a lot of great things about you, but I'd like you to share that backstory.
So yes, so I definitely will service my community, that especially the community that I live in. Um, you know, Black litigants make up about 95% of the court system.
Mm.
Unfortunately, that's Black and brown peoples, and we are probably less than 10% of the ones making the decisions. I mean, less than 2% of the judges in Cook County are Black women. So how is that representation? And representation absolutely matters.
2%. Wow. Those
Less
are
than.
staggering
Yeah.
negatives. And the courts are filled, and there are a lot of things going on. So what is a day in the life of Tiffany Brooks looks like right now as you prepare to go into the March is coming up really soon, and you've got to put in a lot of legwork.
Mhm.
What would you like people to know about this here race that you're in terms of from your perspective? What do you want them to know to feel comfortable to go into that booth and to vote for you?
Well, number one, please vote. I always say that. Please vote. I don't take it lightly, and I ask others not to take it lightly. And a lot of people I hear say, especially the younger generations, they're saying, "Oh, my voice doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Why should I vote?" They don't take into consideration what we think anyway. Nobody wants to hear from us. And I always encourage younger people. Number one, that's a misconception, and that's what they want you to believe. If you believe that, then you've already been defeated. To the polls, cast your vote. It definitely counts. And my mother used to say, and I don't know where she got it from, but the biggest, I can't remember her words, but the biggest, I'll say, feat that the devil accomplished was making you believe he doesn't exist.
Mm.
And if they
Uh,
can make you believe your vote doesn't count, then you have already lost. And I
well,
want people to go out and vote and take somebody with you.
there are a lot of
Take
negative.
somebody with you,
There are a
please.
lot of negative kinds of things going on right now to dissuade people from voting. With the climate being so volatile
Mhm.
on the ground, how can someone feel secure about voting today, who they're voting for, what they hope to get from them, and how do you plan to, what's the best, and I'll get into that next. Let's just go for first, the negatives and what's going on the ground in regards to all of this here political.
So, I know this. Yeah, I know the sentiment is tough right now. In the words of the former VP, Madam Vice President, people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I know she took that from Fannie Lou Hamer, but that is the truth. But you can't let that stop you. You cannot. We are standing on the backs and shoulders of our ancestors. And I'm sure they were way more tired than we are. I'm sure they had to endure and accomplish and overcome many more obstacles and struggles. And that's why we are where we are today. I'm just here to propel forward what they've already established so that it won't die. We have to keep that hope. We have to know somewhere deep inside that it will change. Change will come. That's something that is inevitable. Change will come. There is nothing that's constant in this world except for change. Well, in Texas, but there's nothing that is more constant in this world than change. And so change will come, but we have to hold on to that hope. And I'd like to think that people will see that in me. I would like to think that people will see me and think I may be the fairest chance that they would get if they were to come in my courtroom and stand before the bench and speak with me, that they will look and they will say, at least she'll hear me out. At least she'll understand and be relatable to what I'm saying. And not only that, she's knowledgeable about the law. She has leadership and management experience. She can relate to people. She establishes relationships. She manages effectively her courtroom. And she understands that her litigants are there at the mercy of the court. And she doesn't take that as being something, as being a privilege. It absolutely is not. It is an obligation for me. It is my responsibility to those that come before me, the people that elect me, and the citizens of the city of Chicago and Cook County.
You know, that's a pretty heavy burden to carry every day. Justice.
Yes.
And so justice, what is justice to you? When you say this is justice, or when you think about providing justice, what is that to you?
Providing justice to me is making sure everyone has their fair day in court. It may not turn out in your favor the way you expect it, but I want you to walk out of my courtroom knowing that this woman actually understood, heard me, listened to me, and took careful consideration when she applied the facts to the law. And so my outcome may not have been what I wanted it to be, but I know it was a fair outcome. That is justice in its simplest form. Mm-hmm. And I also would like to do, if I became a judge, I'd like to educate the community more on the justice system, on the legal system, on the court system, and help them to become more knowledgeable and more empowered and get more involved. Nobody really knows what judges do or who we are, but it's a public system. What we do is public record. And people can come in and observe us in the courtrooms at any time, unless it is a closed like trial or some type of, they can come in anytime.
Well, how do you see, and how do you think you're going to seize this opportunity to educate from the bench? Right now, you're educating in the communities that you've been in and you live in. And I've seen you have a really wonderful work record as a civil servant, community person, just a friend. From everything I've heard from people that have been speaking to me about you, you are the person that has lifted up so many people. You've been that backbone for so many people. You're an educator. You have a lot of things going, but how do you see educating? What are some of the ways that you see, one or two things that you've looked at and said, I'm going to implement this to educate? What are one or two of those things you see that you can do that can be fruitful, that won't deter you and overwhelm you as you take a seat as judge?
Well, I've done a few things in my legal career just as an attorney, and I hope to continue them as judge. And I've done expungement summits. legal clinics and legal panels and forums. And we invite the public to come in to all of these things. When I was over the clerk of the circuit court's office, we had driver's license expos where we helped people who had bad driving records for a number of years. And they were able to come in and we assisted them through the help of the free legal aid clinics to regain their driver's license. And that is something that is really essential because it prevents people from obtaining employment, gainful employment. And once you open that door to them and they're able to gain employment and have resources, their lives change. That's how you change the culture that way. If you feed a man, they've eaten for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, they can feed themselves forever and eat every day if they choose to. So I believe in bringing them in. Those legal clinics, they come in, they ask questions, they get educated, they tell a friend, they bring the friend back. Each one reach one, each one teach one. Because we have to bring everybody in. Same thing with expungement summits. I've seen people who have just broken down in tears because they did not think they were able to be ever able to overcome having that black mark or that X against them on their record. And I'm talking about women and men, because the number of women that are now in the justice system and in the legal system is overwhelming. And having done criminal law for a number of years, if you could go to 26 in California and see these women in the bullpen and being herded in, and it's heartbreaking. Not that it's not for the men, but it's something to see a pregnant woman being brought into court. It's something to see an older woman being brought in, somebody that you would consider your elder. It really is something. You think of young women that have gotten into trouble, have done the wrong, but you go in there and you see women from all backgrounds, and it's heartbreaking. So I would like to educate and empower them what to do in certain situations and what not to do. Provide them just life advice. And how can I help you get the resources you need? Do you need help with your resume? Is it some sort of etiquette course that I can teach? How can I help you? And I've also done things with survivors of domestic violence. And whether we talk about it in our communities or not, it is huge. It is a problem. It is an epidemic, and it is something that we need to grab hold of very quickly, because these people are living silently and suffering in silence. And when the women are victims or survivors, their children become victims and survivors.
Wow. One of the things that I've become innately aware of over the last few years, I've had a lot of conversations about being prepared before you go to court. Like, what are you charged with? And what are the laws around that you're going to go in there and have to face? So being very specific and understanding that, even if you have an attorney, that you should ask the hard questions. You should find out what the laws are around it, so that some attorneys aren't that great. I'm just going to say that. There are some attorneys that really don't do the work. They figure their clients are ignorant and they're not going to provide the top tier of the support that they're supposed to provide you for the dollar, or even if they're a public defender, right? And so a lot of people end up in court with attorneys who are not prepared, and before judges who have been overwhelmed by a lack of preparation that the attorneys have not made. So you've got a big rock to climb when you're in there as a judge, because you're now performing a lot of tasks, and oftentimes judges have to must recognize when an attorney hasn't performed their task and that their client is not being represented right.
Sure.
I'm sure you've been in the courtroom as that attorney and seen those performances. What's
Absolutely. And it is shameful. I mean, as lawyers, we don't tend to overstep our boundaries into somebody else's attorney-client relationship. It is privileged, but we do observe those things. I would say yes. And if that is some way that I can extend assistance to the community, I absolutely will. We can talk about court preparation. We can definitely talk about court preparation and what it takes. Please go to court dressed in a certain way. Please address the judge as judge or your honor. Please talk to your counsel prior to going to court. Know why you're going. Is it a status hearing? Are we going for trial? Things of that nature. And the basics. What's a motion? What is a court order? And what type of effect does it have if they enter this order against you? How will it impact you or impact your case? So we can do litigation 101, because what people don't seem to realize, and people say, oh, how many trials have you done? How many trials have you done? Being a good judge should not be based on how many trials you've done. They really don't. You definitely need to have trial experience, because if you have to put on a trial, you need to have done it. But 95%, I would say somewhere between 97 and 95% of cases do not result in trials. They result in settlements or negotiations or some type of agreements. And that it goes across. Yes, from criminal to civil law. That is the case. That absolutely is. And
that 95%.
Absolutely. It is. You can fact check that. That's not fake news. You can fact check that.
So give me some of the instances of what happens in that 95% that causes it not to go to trial.
So litigation experience is absolutely essential, and that's what leads to trial. So you open the case up. If it's criminal, it's because they've been charged with something. If it's civil, because if you represent the plaintiff, they filed a complaint. If you represent the defendant, they're there to defend themselves. And so you have all these steps that lead to it. You have to go in for the initial appearance. Then you have to go in and you have status. If it's civil and criminal, you have discovery. So there are various steps that lead to this.
Your camera's freezing. I'm pretty sure that it's going to come back. You know what we're going to do? We're going to take a minute and go to a break. It's going to be a short one. Okay, she's back.
People get exhausted. They have to take off work, time away from their families.
I'm going to take a break real quick and give Tiffany a chance to refresh her screen, and we're going to come back. What are some of the questions you have? I see comments. So take a moment and think of what is the question you'd like to ask Tiffany as you come back. Attorney Tiffany Brooks. We'll be right back. Let's see. Can she get your vote?
Leaders of nonprofits empowering worlds. Let's go.
But the vision that God gave me, I felt that it was time for me to step out and work on the vision that God gave me.
We need look no further. We have a unique voice. We have a unique talent pool.
Stress, especially as it relates to worry. I was once a worried about everything, and I finally figured it out with some training periods, and I've learned how not to worry.
Wow. This is much deeper than it. This has to be a deeper dive for all of us, something that helps to illuminate us in a way, not about just our vote, but how are we serving our community and our families? As Attorney Tiffany Brooks is here, let's think about that. What do you want when you know that someone is right in front of you, that you're going to cast a vote to determine whether or not they're going to be the one to handle your case, so to speak, the case of having a judge that that comes from your community that will serve and provide specifically your community. We need to really understand what that means. Let's get Tiffany back in the room and talk about that. What does it mean for a person to have someone that they vote for right out of their district and their community? How do you provide insight, foresight, and outcomes so that that community feels satisfied that what they've done is good for them? How do you plan to do that?
I'm sorry, the question was, how would I provide insight?
Yeah, insight, oversight, and understanding about what you're doing, your directives, how it's actually serving the very community that voted for you.
Well, performance actually provides the results and the evidence of whatever your platform is. In this campaign, my platform has been restoring trust and reforming justice while being anchored in integrity and rooted in fairness. And my performance is going to display that. That's something that my community can hold me to. I'm tethered to that. Well, Tiffany, you said that you were going to restore the trust. How will you do that? Well, first of all, I have to guarantee that if you come before me, I prove when you come before me that you are not only getting most fair chance that you would stand in front of a judge, but I also have to be willing to allow, as the courts will allow and can assist, resources, and be willing to go outside of the court to say, hey, these are the resources that I know that are available to you. I hope that you can take part in them. I hope that they will assist you. And if there's any way that the court can continue to help you on your journey, provide beyond that, because judges aren't allowed to do certain things. And when I say that, we're not attorneys. We're attorneys, but we're not allowed to practice law. So I can't necessarily do certain things. But we can refer attorneys that we know that are, and we could say, hey, off the record, maybe you should look into having an attorney. Here's a list of attorneys over here. You're free to choose them. Here's a list of educational resources, whatever it is that they need. We can offer that in an unbiased way, but judges aren't allowed to do certain things. And so I can go to the limit. Now, when I'm not on the bench and I'm just Tiffany Brooks and the girl from South Shore, I can be available to you. You can ask me things. I can't opine on certain legal opinions and things of that nature. But if you need certain types of advice, I'd be more than happy to help you. I've always been reachable and relatable, and I've always been present. So I would hope that would be what my community can say and notice and knows and would be able to continue to have with me, that type of relationship.
Well, one thing's for certain today, we've become innately aware that the judicial system holds a lot of power. And as we watch a lot of things unfold in front of us, we're wondering how that judicial system is going to support us as, people who these things are supposed to support, right? And so it's a really rough time for the judicial system because a lot of judges are being seen as not necessarily holding sway in their court and providing the kind of outcomes that are expected. So my question then becomes, are our expectations sometimes unrealistic for the court or the judge that we have an anticipation of an outcome of? And how can we manage that? Okay, she's frozen on the screen again. So I'm going to let you get your screen back and we're going to come back. Look, I've got a lot of questions because I'd like to see it. And if today we can't get the full breadth of Tiffany because of connection problems that it seems to have, then we're going to come back and we're going to have her back again. We'll do a part 2 next Friday. But Tiffany, did you hear what I asked? How can we manage the expectations that we have?
I did not. I didn't hear what you asked.
Yeah, how can we manage our expectations for what we have for the judges? Judges are held in a lot of sometimes impractical desires that we have for them to perform, right? And so each judge also perform something different. And so there must be limitations for what it is that you can or you cannot do, even though we see the breadth that judges have, the reach and the wide depth and breadth of what judges have that they can do. They can change people's lives, but there are certain things that certain judges are not privy to. So can you talk about that a little bit? Because there's this Supreme Court justice, there's this federal, judges, there are all types of judges. Can you kind of talk about that ladder, that hierarchy, what you're able to do and what you're not able to do? And in those cases, what and how do you perform?
On to see if there would be better reception. But so everything that directly impacts our communities starts locally in the legal system. And that's why voting for judges is so important, because oftentimes you are going to meet a judge or come before a judge before you meet, the Cook County Board President, before you meet your commissioners, before sometimes you meet your alderman. And when you come before the judge, it's life issues that you're dealing with. So voting and being educated about the voting process and who you're voting for is absolutely essential. I would say that on the federal level, the judges have been so very important, because the federal administration has attempted to do many things. And the judges, because of the power of that pen, it is the power of the pen, have been able to reverse some things, stop some things. I mean, giving the federal workers their jobs back, preventing the National Guard from coming in, stopping certain actions with ICE. I mean, they've been able to do something. So that judge being fair and knowledgeable and being impartial, those are key factors, key traits that a judge should possess. Not necessarily that they went to Harvard or an Ivy League school, but that they can understand what the communities and the people need, and that they know when something is not right. They have to be brave enough to uphold the law. They have to be brave enough, regardless of what type of political pressures they're getting. Because honestly, the judiciary is supposed to be separate from that. We're not supposed to be a part of that political aspect. We're supposed to keep ourselves separate. That way we can remain objective and impartial and unbiased. And that often doesn't happen. It often does not happen. So know who your judges are. Know them, and you can't really know who or what they've done. But if I say in my run and what I'm doing, I've gone out and I continue to go out and meet the community, because I want people to know who I am. I want people to know what I've done as a lawyer and before I became a lawyer and outside of the courtroom in the community. People who, one of my attorney friends said, judge doesn't change his spots. And she said that meaning if they just up and decided they wanted to become a judge and have done nothing with the community, or they just started being actively involved in their community, that should give you pause. Not that they won't become a good judge, but maybe it's not their time. Let them experience more things in the community. Let them see and know what the community needs are. I hear it all the time. What are we going to do about crime? What are we going to do about our youth? How are we going to help them so that we can feel safe and our communities can continue to thrive? How do we provide resources and jobs for them? What do we do? What about our elderly? We need to look after them. I mean, I have so many different issues that people come and lay before me. Help the businesses, and how do we get our community to have more businesses and more thriving businesses so that our communities can thrive and we won't have to leave our homes or our neighborhoods to go elsewhere and support other neighborhoods and other areas. So those are some of the things most important to the people that are around me and that they tell me all the time. And in addressing those with judges, you have to be willing to do certain things. When they talk to me about these abandoned buildings up and down the commercial corridors. How would judges play a role in that? Well, when they come to building court, who do they come before? They come before the judge in building court. And that judge has the power to say, you know, you need to fix this building up. We'll demolish it. We'll force you to sell it. We'll put a receiver in place. Those are some of the options that they can give. When it comes to with the youth, if they have criminal cases, we can require them. Oh, you have to have a job within a certain amount of time, and you're going to go and sign up for this resource. You're going to check in with me every 30 days, and until you complete X, Y, and Z, your case is going to be pending, and I'm going to have a watchful eye over you. So there are ways judges can do it without being or overstepping the boundaries or crossing that line and not being objective. There are certain ways that we can do that.
Well, you got a couple of questions, and they sort of like are the same kind of question, but in a different way. JJ is asking, how can we find out who are running for judge positions? And then doctors like to know, there are Cook County websites that provide representative decisions on cases.
So as far as who's running for judge, you just have to be in tune. They have different panels, forums. You can go to the Board of Elections. When it comes election time, go to the Board of Elections websites. The bar associations, they offer different items and informational pieces about candidates for judge. When judges are being retained or up for retention, because judges don't run for a re-election, they are up for retention. They put out different pieces about who this judge is, what they've done in their past, and if they're controversial or they feel like it's a judge who's not qualified, bar associations will let you know, hey, out of all the litigants they had, only the Black litigants were judged unfavorably, or they'll say something like that. So you can look at that. There's no centralized website to show. Injustice Watch, yes, but Injustice Watch is very biased as well. They have I don't think that they're objectively reporting. Let me say that.
Okay, that's interesting. But I think that we do understand that a lot of what is televised or made public is not necessarily the whole story.
Exactly. So the best way to know your judge
lives, and we have to start beginning to do our homework.
Yes.
Which is really pretty much what I was speaking of earlier, is that people are so undereducated before they come down to a court. When they go and get an attorney, they don't really understand what they need the attorneys for. They don't understand what the attorney is as it relates to the judge and how that can play or help to provide a good outcome and a poor outcome. There are just so many things. And so it's a myriad of things from my perspective that we have to do. But how do you see that? What are some one, 2, or 3 steps that you say that you'll be providing for your community? When I say your community, it can be all across Chicago, whatever, right? What are 1, 2, or 3 steps that you would say as a solid performance that a person who is coming to court must and should do, outside of how they dress and how they speak to the judge? But what are some of the other things that they can do beforehand, before getting there?
Read your legal pleadings, whatever the legal documents are. Please, at the very basic level of preparation, read the legal documents. So if you're being sued, read the complaint. If you were arrested, read the police report and the complaint. Know why, know what the details are. Read everything. And if you have a lawyer, ask questions from your lawyer and ask for a prep session before you go to court. Every court date. Hey, even if it's not live, maybe it's virtual, or maybe it's just a phone call. What am I to expect? What should I expect when I go to court this day? What's happening? What is going on? Anything your lawyer files on your behalf, read it. Read it. I cannot state that enough. Read it. You have to read it to know what's going on in your case. You have to. And I know it becomes a lot. And they're like, well, that's what I hired the lawyer for. Well, yeah, but it's your life, not theirs. So please be actively involved and read the legal documents. That is the main thing. Know what's happening in your case. Know if your case is going up for status. Know if there was a motion filed. Know what it means if that motion is granted for you.
Wait a minute. You said know that your case is going up for status.
If your case is going up for status, or if there's a hearing on a motion, know the difference, what your case is up for every time there's a court date. Every single time. So if it's just a status and they're just going on to check, and maybe the judge gave instructions to your lawyer, I want you to produce discovery, or I want you to have this filed, or I need to have proof of that. Make sure your lawyer has that going in. And if they don't, why? And so you need to make sure that if it's something that you were supposed to provide to them, that you give it to them. That it's not something that you didn't provide to prolong your case. So you just have to know, and ask your lawyer, what's your legal strategy? How are we moving forward? What's the litigation strategy? What's going to happen? Have you handled cases like this before? You need to know all of those details. You do.
I like that. A lot of people don't think they hold any sway over the attorney. They think they pay the attorney, even if they know it, and they hope the attorney says everything, and then they walk out, and then there's the outcome, even though if it's a temporary stay on what will be the final judgment. You know, people don't feel self-empowered when attorneys are present. They feel like they feel like the attorney's going to automatically know everything they need to know, and they just become more disappointed and in disarray about everything that's going on. And then I know we're talking about attorneys because you are one, and this in performance, you've done so many things. I would tell everyone, go and look up Attorney Tiffany Brooks and learn about her, learn more about her. I have information that I'll put up as well. But Luana says, once you've Googled what judges' names will be on 2026 midterm ballot, look up each one on Roving Room, right? What do you have to say about this? Is all of that accurate information? How does that work?
I don't know Roving Room. I don't know that particular. I'll look up myself on Roving Room because I don't know that. They different sites provide different things. You know, I'm Googling it now. I haven't heard of that, but it just depends. You know, and sometimes sites are created by certain interest groups. Understand that they are created by certain interest groups. So if they're created by that interest group will maybe promote the candidates that they want promoted, or maybe they'll cast candidates in a certain light. So, you know.
Well, one of the things that I do as a voter is when I get that ballot and it shows all those judges, way before it's time, I go and I Google every judge.
Google
right?
it. Yep.
Who are they? What are they doing? What's their status? You know, and it's so interesting because there were some sites that on the ballot it tells you, not the ballot. They do provide some insight about certain judges that are not all there for other judges, for you to be people who are running for judge, attorneys, that you can have insight to bring that judge back into his or her power, right? It's just a lot of stuff. There's so much to need to know. Okay, Tiffany, you're having more broadcast problems. So what I'm going to do is take you off screen and let's work that out. And I'm going to kind of say, Abantu says, what book comes to mind for one to educate and prepare themselves? Good question. So Abantu comes into the room and she's saying here on screen, what book comes to mind? Okay, still trying to get that right. Are we good? Let's at least get this this last question.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I appreciate your desire to keep trying. I love that. It says a lot about you. It says a lot about you. A lot of people like to know. Yeah.
I can't. Yeah,
so
I can't give up.
Let's answer.
It's not in my vocabulary.
Let's answer Abantu's question, and then let's talk about the constitution of the person that you are. She says, what book comes to mind for one to educate and prepare themselves?
Is she talking about for courtroom presence or?
she'll have to become more specific with that. But I'm going to assume that's what she's speaking about. How to prepare to come to court, or how to prepare to become a judge. Are you about to? Please let me know. And here's another question. People want to know more about you. Ms. Brooks, how can we keep up with you? Are you on social media?
I am. I'm on, it's Tiffany Brooks for Judge. That's my handle on Facebook and Instagram. And then also my website. Yes.
And Abantu says, yes, she wants to know on the books it. I'm going to go back to her original.
Maybe I need to write that book about it.
Yes, it sounds good.
Maybe I need to write that book. Maybe I should pen that, author it, and have a book on preparing to court, you know. And I don't think that there's one particular. Oh, absolutely. So how about we start with some just local type of maybe seminars and just forums or panels. How about we start with that? And in the meantime, I'll pin that. I'll come up with it. And
oh wow, she's out again. I can't hear you, Tiffany.
You can't? Can you hear me? No. Oh Lord.
Now I can hear you now, but I think that's really a great question, and it's brought around a really good result. And you're saying that. I don't know if do many judges write a book while they're on the bench, or is that something they do post being on the bench?
Yes, they can write books.
Mm-hmm.
They can write books. It's not against the law to write books.
So Lawana says, Roving Room is a review site that publishes all reported info from lawyers who presented before a certain judge to any information that a litigation or others have had on their decisions and demeanor. Just type in the judge's name. So she gave a kind of information. She gave information so we all can know.
Great. I will definitely. Yes, I will look that up. Thank you so much, Lawana. That is needed. So many people, they're afraid to do something like that. They don't have the courage to go in and write about it. But if more people do that, I think that could bring about a great change, a great deal of change. Because, you know, you go before the judge and you don't get the decision you want. Now, people have to be fair. You don't get the decision you want. You can't say, oh, the judge is horrible, you know. But if the judge abused their power and discretion, you absolutely should write about that. And also, it should always be a negative or comments. It can be constructive. It can be praise.
So Abantu comes back and she says, the only book that comes to mind is You Have the Right.
You Have the Right by Laura Coates. Sure.
So look, we only have a few minutes left. I want you to take this next minute to kind of define yourself in your run. What would you like people to know? I'm going to come off screen and let you just have it for the next, say, 60 to 90 seconds, okay, before we close out today. Ladies, gentlemen, all of my brothers and sisters, all you wonderful people are here. This is Attorney Tiffany Brooks running for judge. I'm going to leave her in the screen. She's going to tell you what to do and how to do it and why you. Okay, so it seems like we've lost her in the last minute or so of this, but I'm going to tell you that Tiffany Brooks. She's running for Democrat for Justice in the first judicial subcourt. She is living and residing in South Shore, she said, and many of us are familiar with the South Shore area and the area in which she will be developing her decision-making and processing as a judge there. I would encourage you to vote for Tiffany Brooks if in fact that you are inclined to do so. Check out who's running and why. And she's back, and I'm going to let her have this last minute. We are really right there. Here you go, Tiff. Please go ahead.
I want to thank you first and foremost, Senabella. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I do. I want to thank your listeners for coming and tuning in and listening and providing the most amazing. I will be looking into that and also sending that around to my colleagues because we need an outlet as well. And I also want to encourage everyone to vote. Please take someone with you when you go. And if you live in the area, if you live in Chicago and you are in between Randolph Street and 103rd Street, from the lakefront and then forward west, I would say just west of King Drive, and in some places State Street, and in some places Halsted. So if you are in the 3rd Ward, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 17th, 20 or 21st wards, and you feel so inclined, I would ask you if I could earn your vote. If you do not live in those areas, if you could tell 10, 20, 30 people about me and ask them.
I think that's going to be a wrap for today. The connection problem.
Oh, can you hear anything I'm saying?
Yeah, we heard most of it. You're in and out. I don't know if it's your connection or what's happening overall.
I don't know what's happening. I would say I'm Attorney Tiffany Brooks. Did you hear where my boundaries and where my subcircuit is? First Judicial Subcircuit. I'm asking to earn your vote. My punch number is 145. If you can't remember 145, just remember Tiffany, like Breakfast Tiffany's or Tiffany and Company. And if you can't remember that, remember Brooks, like the Brooks Brothers suits. I'm asking everyone, if you do not live in the First Judicial Subcircuit, please tell your family and friends. I'd love to earn their votes as well.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We got to get out of here.
Supporting one another, be safe and be kind. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiff. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here. Attorney Tiffany Brooks. Everyone have a wonderful day. This is Senabella closing out for this morning, this Friday coffee break. And thank you, Female Solution, as we close out. Everybody have a wonderful day.
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.